Hi, this is Bonnie Hallam, and this is the Upper Darby Environmental Advisory Committee meeting for March 2025. And I'm going to go through the group, and you can introduce yourself to show who's in attendance tonight.
Good evening. I'm Norm James. I live in the Drexel Hill section of town.
This is Sharon Elwell, Drexel Hill.
Steve Lockard, Bywood.
Peggy Kowalski, Beverly Hills section of Upper Darby.
Okay, and anybody online? Okay, we're going to move ahead with the approval of the minutes from January 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Approve the minutes, please.
Thank you, Sharon. How about a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any negatives? The minutes for January are approved. Old business we're going to go to. Old business. So one of the things that the EAC has been working on for 3 years now is to get a plastic pollution reduction ordinance in place for Upper Darby. We've presented before council, we've presented before the Public Health and Environment Committee. We've been doing actions in the community. We've done a survey. We've done a lot of stuff around this, and we feel that it's time that it moves forward in our council. And we asked the head of the Environment and the Public Health Committee, Councilwoman Blackwell, if she would champion this and put it to council. And at the last council meeting, she did bring it to them and shared information so that they might review it, so that it can get put on the agenda for being passed in Upper Darby. So we're moving forward with trying to get that as an ordinance. And if people haven't been listening before, we feel that there's a critical need for this because it has many costs. First of all, there are health costs to plastic bag pollution in micro plastics, which get in every place, even into amniotic fluid in babies that aren't born yet, in your brain, all through your body, and they're toxic. When plastic bags are thrown out on the ground, they don't decompose. They actually shed their microplastics into the soil and make the soil toxic, and then that leaches into water, making our water toxic. So there are a lot of health issues around plastic bags that we would like to alleviate. In addition, there's a lot of environmental costs that stem from no place to recycle these plastics. Supermarkets really, although they have a bin for it, those don't usually end up in recycling. So that is an environmental hazard for us. They clog stormwater drains, they go into the water, and they hurt the fish and other wildlife in the water. So there's a lot of reasons why we feel that it's really important that Upper Darby pass this ordinance. And we feel like it's moving right now. I don't know if Kristen has gotten on, if Kristen's here. Okay, so I'm just going to say, Kristen Cooper is in the process of doing a capstone project for her master's degree, and independently has put together a survey that she's putting out on social media and other places. And I hope if you get that message, you will help Kristen to learn more about how people in Upper Darby feel about plastic bag pollution. And that's an independent thing from the EAC. It's not a survey that we've put out, but it's a survey that will help Kristen with her research. So thank you. Norm.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. We want to talk about plastic bags just a little bit more. And when the Township Council passes our plastic bag ordinance, it will do a lot to solving the problem of the whole waste stream being polluted with the plastic bags. But I'm guessing even that terrific ordinance is not going to prevent us from having plastic bags in our houses. And what we want to do tonight is to remind everybody that the thing not to do with them is not to put them with your recycling. Yes, they are plastic, but they don't go into the recycling because the biggest problem is that it gums up the recycling separating systems and it stops the process. It costs more money because if the recycling folks see plastic bags in with the recyclable items, they will actually throw it out, and we will have, the township will have paid the per by weight for the trash, and then we're going to have to pay again to have it hauled off and thrown into the incinerator. So it costs us more when we throw them in the recycling bin. So the word of the day is, yes, we are going to lower the amount of plastic bags in our environment, but we're not likely to stop it. And we want to remind folks not to put it in with the recycling. I was going to suggest, Bonnie, that maybe the EAC could recommend to the township that they do some more promotion of that idea. There are 2 times a year when the township does a mailing. One, when they send out the calendar for the year, which includes information about recycling. And we could urge them to make more prominent in that the caution about the plastic bags gumming up the works. But they also, when they send out the tax bills, they do a mailing to everybody in the township. And why not put a little insert in that, reminding folks not to put plastic bags, because it relates to the taxes. Because if we don't put it in the recycling, it will cost us less to do the recycling. So it's a good nexus. I suggest that we try and see if we can get that done.
Okay. Thank you, Norm. I think that's a great idea that we recommend that to the township, and we can do that formally with a note to the CAO and the mayor and the council. And I think that would be a great idea. In addition, I just also want to remind people that not only shouldn't you throw your plastic bags to recycle them with your recycling, but you should not put your recycling in a plastic
Yes,
bag.
good.
Which a lot of people do. And you'll notice a lot of times our trash folks won't pick up your trash if they see that. Your recycling if they see that. So if your recycling is not being picked up and you have it in a plastic bag, that's the reason why you're not getting your recycling picked up. So please think about that and try. Just put it straight in the bin. Doesn't need a plastic bag.
That's a really good point, Bonnie. I had to learn that myself. Someone pointed that out to me the first time I was doing recycling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We don't always do everything perfectly, but we have to keep trying to do it better. So that's great. Anybody else have anything to say about the plastic pollution reduction ordinance or plastic bags? Okay. We're going to move into the next topic, which one of the things that we have been working on are pollinator gardens in Upper Darby. And we have a pollinator garden planting at Nailers Run Gateway that we will be discussing with the township this Friday. Steve, would you like to tell about what that project is?
Certainly. At the entrance to Nailers Run off Garrett Road, as you come in just before the tennis courts, there's an area to the left and the right behind the guardrails. And the entrance isn't as pleasing as it could be. So we endeavor to put a number of flowering plants in that area, natives that are all very good pollinators. That would be to both the right, which would be a smaller one, and to the left, which would be a larger one. They extend back to just under the trolley trestle on each side.
Okay, that's great. And we have gotten a grant from the Clean Air Council, actually, to put those pollinator plants in. And we'll be discussing shortly with the township about when that can happen and what needs to happen in order to make that project a success.
So what is the date on that planning again?
Well, we're hoping that we can do that sometime in April. Pollinator garden workshop. Okay, we're also planning to do a pollinator garden workshop in May, and we're excited about this. This is our second one. We did one in Stonehurst Hills in the fall, and we'll do this one in the spring in May. And this one, we are really excited to have the Coopertown bee beautification crew come and talk to us about their project where they've been planting small pollinator gardens all around Haverford Township. And it doesn't have to be like a big space. So if you have a right of way and you want to put a pollinator garden in your right of way, a 4x4 or a 4x2 or a 6x2, however you want to do it, or if you have a little corner in your yard where you want to put a pollinator garden, we're hoping to get a club started. We have 2 people now who are really interested in spearheading that. And they would come out, and with your help, they work with the homeowners or with the renters. They can help you put in a pollinator garden, and we have some funding to support that project. So if you're interested in pollinator gardens, you can get in touch with the township right now, and they'll put it to us at the EAC. But May 12th is when that workshop will be, and we hope that we get a lot of people out to hear about why pollinator gardens are important and how we can do this in Upper Darby. Anybody have anything else about the pollinator garden that they want to talk about, or the pollinator workshop?
Hi, EAC. It's Kristen. Sorry, I'm stopping in a little bit later, but now the workshop
Where will it
and
take
the-
place?
Yeah, the workshop is actually going to be at the municipal library. We're partnering with the library to put this workshop on, and we're excited to be there.
So if an individual wanted a pollinator garden,
Kristen, we
Kristen.
can't hear you.
oh, I'm sorry. Let me talk a little louder. Is that better?
1 second.
Yep.
Kristen, try.
Is that a little
Kristen,
better?
try now.
That's
Yeah,
better.
there you go.
Okay. So if an individual, hello, everybody. Good evening. If it's an individual was interested in having a pollinator garden installed, would the individuals come out and sort of assess the area and, you know, make a recommendation? Or how does the actual process work?
Yeah, so at the last workshop, we gave away one free. There was a drawing, and someone, it's going to be free no matter what, but we gave one away, and we'll come out and yes, assess the area. This person has several different locations that he could put the pollinator garden in, so he's deciding where. And Steve and his friends with the Upper Darby Rain Gardens right now could come out and make a recommendation about where they could be. Once we get this sort of group together that focuses particularly on pollinator gardens, we will have them come out and give the recommendation. So, but for now, Steve has been gracious enough to say that he will check that out for us.
All right, thank you.
Bonnie, are we clear that there's no,
In the mic,
I-
in among.
are we clear that there is no zoning or other regulation which would prohibit people from using that space between the sidewalk and their street?
The right of way, and Josh maybe can say this, even though the right of way belongs to the property owner, you have to maintain it. If you have a tree there, you have to maintain it. you cannot cut the tree down without letting the township know, and you can't plant a tree there without letting the township know. But I don't believe that there's any ordinance against people planting flowers in their right of way.
No, I think you could plant flowers in the right of way. But yeah, it has to be maintained by the property owner, even though it's owned by the township.
Right.
And the question of what's maintaining means, because one of the things that I understand little and I understand about pollinator gardens is there's a real advantage to leaving them after the fall, after the plants have died, because they're seeds and whatnot, food for birds and other critters. And some people are going to think that it looks unsightly. Is that going to be an issue?
Well, that will frankly require probably some group training with license and inspection so that they know what they're looking for.
And signage would be important. So it would be a sign
Okay.
to say this is a pollinator garden and what you're doing, and that usually works. We know several people who have these in the township already, and that's how they make sure that people aren't thinking, oh, this place is unkempt or whatever.
So there's a signage. Is that something that is centrally dispersed, that signage?
Well, I'm hoping that once this group is established, there are grants that they can write for, even small grants, like from the Delaware County Conservation District. They give out $500 grants twice a year, and a sign costs maybe $25. So we would be able to purchase some of those signs and have them on hand, so people who wanted these pollinator gardens could have a sign. And I don't, again, this is just sort of being formulated, so it might be that at some point in time, the people who want the pollinator gardens might have to pay a small fee, like, $10 or something, which would help defray the cost of the plants and the sign. But that's, we're moving towards that now. So the other pollinator garden is that we had been talking with the developers over at the Drexel Line Shopping Center, and as part of that construction, they have put in an area that can be turned into a pollinator garden. We talked with their representative. He's excited about that. There were some legal issues that had to be resolved at the township, and I don't know, Josh, if you have a report.
Yes, I spoke with Rita, and she said that the license agreement terms have been resolved, signatures pending. So sounds like there's progress.
Awesome. That's great. So then we can begin that, and we'll have somebody come out and make a design. We'll submit that to you, and then we'll get some planting done there. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Resolved. Okay, so the film festival is old business, but there's been nothing done on that at this point in time. But we are going to continue to do that, and hopefully we'll have something established by the summer where we could get at least one film in the summer, one in the fall. But I don't think anything's going to happen this spring. It's just too much going on. Any
Bonnie?
questions?
Bonnie, we may have skipped Stonehurst.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
If I can.
Sure.
Sure. At the Stonehurst Hills Recreation Area, there is a retention basin. This time last year, we put in 40 shrubs, tubed and staked them, and then throughout the summer, we watered them. I think we have documentation on 11 waterings. I'm told that we might have missed the documentation on 2 or 3 others. But this year, we intend to put a few more pollinators in there. So we have the individual plugs to put in, and we'll try to bring some additional water containers there so that we can water both the shrubs that we put in last year, as well as the new pollinators we put in this year.
That's great. we were supposed to have a service group was going to come out, but I actually talked to them tonight, the representative from that service group, and they cannot do it on the date when we had been planning to do it. So we're probably going to set that out as a volunteer time and get volunteers to come out and help us to plant that.
Okay.
Okay, new business. Sharon, you went to a solar meeting. You want to tell us a little bit about what you went to and what you learned?
Sure. It was sponsored by Penn Environment, which has been helping us very generously with working on our plastic bag ban issue. And it was in media at the Universal Unitarian Church. I think I have that name correct. So there were, I'll make it brief, and there were three. I could get really technical if I really wanted to. I think I really could do that, but I'm not going to do that. I'd get all tongue-tied anyway. So anyway, I'm going to just briefly hit on three issues: the church's values, economics, and resilience. So first of all, church's values. So there's a presentation and a tour. So in the church's values, they talked about the fact that it coincides, meets perfectly with the values that they espouse, and one of those is being a steward of the earth, and also productive within the community. So they feel that by cutting down on the amount of pollution, that they contribute to the community and to the environment in general by using less fossil fuel, gas, coal, and oil, and using solar instead, that they are contributing to that value, holding that up. Economics. One of the things that has a help here is the Inflation Reduction Act, which for nonprofit organizations, of which religious institutions are one of those now, they can get a direct 30% payback. I read it can be up to 30%. I've also read it is 30%, so I'm not sure which is accurate, but they get a direct payback of 30% on the cost of installation. And also it was pointed out that so far, since they have had the solar array installed, they have found a $5,000 a year reduction in their electricity costs. So they expect that within 10 to 15 years, that it will actually pay for itself. And then it will last another 10 to 15 years beyond that, where it will be $5,000 a year, at least in today's cost, less than they were paying for electricity prior to having that array put up. Also, they put out the fact, in the area of economics, that we've all heard that alternative fuels like solar, for instance, creates jobs, whereas it's often claimed that alternative production of energy loses jobs, but in fact it creates jobs. And they pointed out the fact that they're good paying jobs as well. So that's another support for the community. And then finally, resilience. They don't have any loss of power when there are weather events. So they don't have power outages because their electricity is still being produced. And finally, Bonnie had a good suggestion that I point out the fact that we could suggest to the township that they put a monitor in the one center here in the township in the municipal building, which could keep track of how much we're saving by the solar array here in our electricity bills. So that's it.
That's great, because we do want to encourage people to think about solar for their homes. I know several of us here in the EAC already have solar arrays on our homes and find them very useful and economic. And I'm going to go back to Josh. Maybe he knows. Do you have any idea of the savings that the township has gotten from putting the solar array on the municipal building?
Oh, there used to be a website that would track it. I don't know off the top of my head, but that would be a good number to get.
Okay. But I'm pretty sure that we've been saving money.
Mhm.
Steve, you?
I was going to mention, I had a solar PV system put in 2009. And one of the things that came with the package when I bought it was that I could see the production every day. And I could monitor exactly how much I was saving, and I could determine when I would get my payback. So at the time in 2009, the state had a tax rebate of almost 30%, and the federal government had a tax credit of almost 30%. 60% savings on what was an $18,000 product then. So I only had to pay 40% of that. Now squirrels did some damage down the road, and I had to put some extra money in. But you don't anticipate some things. But I think having an idea of how much you're saving and being able to look at it on a daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis is a really worthwhile thing for homeowners and taxpayers to see.
Yeah.
Well, and just one final thing on the economic issues is that the point was made too in the presentation that their church is a small church. So that while they're now saving 5,000 a year on what, compared to their pre-solar array electric bills, they said that they have, researching this themselves, they had found out that the larger churches saved even thousands of more every year, thousands more dollars every year.
Yeah.
Can I just say something that to endorse what was just suggested, that the township put some kind of display in the one center, because, you know, people always complain about their taxes. And that will show in a very vivid way how much we're saving. I mean, I think that it would do well to have the town kind of promote that idea.
Yeah, and I think that people coming in there wouldn't know what it was at first.
Yeah.
They ask questions, and then they get some answers.
Yeah, well, you could have a photograph showing the array on top of the roof and a little description of what there's, I mean, that would be a great education, but it would also encourage people to think positively about the possibility.
And I wasn't able to be here for the event when they went up onto the roof to be able to show what was up there. I guess that's
That was a tour last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last year.
Earlier.
But that kind of thing is a wonderful thing to see. And
Yeah, that's
invite
great.
everybody.
And I think that somewhere on the township website, there's actually a place where you can see all of the different homes that have solar in Upper Darby. And there's a lot more than I ever thought there were, which I'm very impressed with. And
We keep
please.
track.
Yeah.
Of every new solar application. So then also you'll be able to see if, you know, through any either federal or local initiatives, if it does make that change or how things are trending.
Yeah.
What
great.
was the name of the website?
The Upper Darby website.
It's on the Upper Darby website.
Oh, is it?
Should be.
Okay.
So I actually have a couple questions about the solar. When there was the push to do this a while back, I guess it was probably a decade ago, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, they were offering to install it for free. I don't know if that's true, but does anybody know if they've made any headway? I was told we couldn't do it here over in Westbrook Park because we all have flat roofs. So we were told that we couldn't get the solar panels. Does anybody know if that's still?
Because you have flat roofs,
Yeah,
I would think that would be very enticing for solar, but Joshua probably would know this.
Yeah, there's lots of permits that come in for flat roofs. They'll just put it on an angle.
For this church, all of their roof would not accommodate solar at all. So they had some land over on one side of the building. So it's all out on this flat piece of land. And then there's a Tesla unit, which changes, let me see, which way does it go? Changes DC to AC, and it runs a cable under the parking lot to the church building itself. And they didn't have to disturb the landscape at all to do this.
Nice. So, but for you, Kristen, I don't think there's any place where you can actually get solar for free anymore. But if you check in with Solarize Delco, they will make sure that you have all the information about any kind of rebates or tax credits that you can get. Like Stephen got tax credits and rebate, and I think I got tax credits. I don't know if I got a rebate, but I did get tax credits. And so there's definitely ways to lower the costs for homeowners.
Yeah. Here's
So,
a
my
website that we
question-
were,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
a website that we were given was cleanenergyhome.org. That's what Penn Environment gave us, cleanenergyhome.org. Also, they have on the Penn Environment website, they tell you how to apply for the 30% Inflation Reduction Act, the tips for both nonprofit and also privately owned, like home residents.
So I think my question is, you know, when I look at my Pico bill, obviously the majority of my bill is gas. So the electric bill is actually, you know, so for those of you who do have it, do you essentially pay no electricity? Does it cover all of it?
Depends on the size of your array. Mine isn't that big, so as a result, I still pay per month. But if you have a larger array, you can get more money back. How much you're absorbing versus how much you're paying out.
Okay.
So for me, there are several months during the year when I pay more. And then there are some months of the year when I don't pay anything. So it all depends. Like in the winter, it's much harder because you have your heat. My heat's electric, so I pay more in the wintertime.
Right.
But but the solar is defraying that cost as well because I pay less than I would if I didn't have that and I had electric heat. And then when the weather gets nice and we have sun and we're not turning on our heat so much, then that drops to practically nothing for the month, maybe, and you get sometimes money back from it as well. So
Right.
you have to figure out like what it is that you are actually saving on those costs in the winter by the defraying amount in the other times of the year.
Yeah, this church has an agreement so that during the summertime, when there's so much sunshine that it produces more electricity than they need, that goes back to Pico, and then that becomes a backup for the winter time.
Right. Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But there are lots and lots of things to consider. Is there other shading? Are there trees in the way of the array? I have a neighbor's house that blocks the array for a certain amount of time each day. So as a result, I don't get as much then during the winter. During the
Right.
summer, when the sun's higher, it's not as much of a problem.
Mhm.
All those things need to be considered.
Right.
Are you going to have a backup battery system involved? That's going to add to your cost too. Lots and lots of things to consider.
Yeah, they mentioned that at the church. We asked about that backup battery storage, and they said so far they have not needed it because of, the balance between the summer and winter. But that is an option that you can get.
Okay. Earth Day, Arbor Day, Trail Day. The EAC has been talking about what might we want to do for Earth Day. I don't know if the township has anything planned yet, but we will find out. Earth Day is April 22nd. Arbor Day is April 26th. And Trail Day is April 26th. And so we thought that maybe we can combine this effort, and Stephen, who is part of Upper Darby Trails, might have a little bit of information to share with us about that.
Sure. On April 26th, there's so many events already going on that we didn't think that was the best day to do a trail walk. We did speak with Haverford Township, and Brian Barrett, head of Parks and Recreation, is considering doing something on Sunday morning, the 27th, and it would be a cross municipalities walk in Pilgrim Park, going from McDonald Field on Vermont Road through Pilgrim Park down to Township Line and back. It's 1 mile one way, so a 2-mile event. If you went leisurely, let's say an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half. So we're seeing if we can clear that now.
Where you said Pilgrim Park,
Pilgrim Park. So
and that crosses into Upper Darby?
yes, from Haverford Township, about a third of the way is Haverford, about 2/3 is Upper Darby. And you'd be ending up near the Idle Hour Tennis Club on Township Line and coming back. A lot of it is an old utility road, so it's a real easy walk. There's a section which tends to get really marshy. So if we had rain, we'd caution people to wear some boots or something that could get wet or muddy.
but we'll put some advertisement out about that, a flyer and other things. So that would be April 27th. Well, that makes us think then maybe we should, at our next meeting, talk about something that the EAC can do on Earth Day itself, which is April 22nd. And we might want to have some sort of celebration, but we can talk about that. One of the other things that we talked about in conjunction with the plastic pollution reduction ordinance is that there's a lot of information that's not out there for people about the harms of plastic. And we use plastic in so much. We put our foods in plastic, they're wrapped in plastic. We use plastic leftover containers. All of our foods come in plastic. And there's actually, plastic actually leaches and has these microplastics as well that shed off of them. And so we thought at our last meeting that we could do a monthly program. Well, actually, it would be a bi-monthly program. We have a number of speakers that we're thinking about asking to come out and talk about various aspects of plastic and its implications for our health. And so I was wondering if the group here tonight are there particular aspects of it that you would like to hear our speakers talk about? Or is this something that we should save until our informal meeting in, this is my April?
Well, there's one in particular I'd like to speak about, and it's a nanoplastic in there, PFAS, perfluoro and polyfluoroalkyl substances,
Okay.
and how it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem, especially for water distribution systems like Aqua. Philadelphia Water Department had a program today talking about what they've been trying to do. 3 of their intake systems in Philadelphia, Queen Lane, the one in Delaware, and I forget which the other one was. They've been monitoring PFAS, and at least 2 of those intake stations say that the amount of PFAS in their water are above the allowable amounts, and they're trying to figure out ways to try to get rid of them. None of those are cheap, and none of those are easy, and they're only going to become a bigger problem. There are no regulations on any company getting rid of PFAS.
Okay, it sounds like a good topic. Other people have a topic that they're interested in?
Well,
I think part of the education we should consider is providing people really specific guidance on ways that they can, reduce their exposure. I think unfortunately, we live in a plastic world. Even with our ordinance, that's only one convenience item that we're removing, but you go into a grocery store, you buy your rotisserie chicken, you buy, mostly plastic breaks down, as we know, when it's heated or stressed. And I think giving people very specific examples of things they shouldn't do. Like I see people putting water bottles in their freezer in the summer for their, kids' soccer games and things, and that stretches the plastic, and that, it causes more releasing. I see people reusing plastic containers. And I think that's great because they think they're doing the right thing. But maybe, showing people how they can, and even giving them resources, like if there's a link on Amazon where they can buy some glass bowls, providing people with real concrete steps on what they can do, how they can go through their house and identify some of the plastics that they can get rid of entirely and be substituted out with glass. I mean, we did that. We did a plastic purge. And, I was really surprised at how much, plastic we were actually using. I was using the wonton Chinese food container, which was a plastic, and I was using it multiple times over to store gravy in the refrigerator. Well, that's not a good idea, so I replaced all of my plastic with glass. Even the glass, unfortunately, has a rubber or plastic lid, but at least it's a reduction. So I like the idea of educating the community I think part of that is really providing them with very concrete, even if it's links to websites that are selling affordable glass containers, stainless steel containers and things like that. So I think that should be part
Great
of it.
idea.
Mhm.
Great. Yeah. Sharon, you had one? Or no?
I was gonna say the same thing that Kristen did, that I think that's really important, very practical kinds of things. But I also think that we need to make sure that we have a presentation that talks about the current understanding of the health risks. I mean, I have heard presentations about that, and it's really pretty scary.
Mhm.
But I think, quite frankly, that we need to scare folks because it's a very dangerous situation. And I would particularly emphasize, I think, the potential risk to human reproduction. Uh, I will say this, that, we worry about overheating the planet and burning ourselves up. It's quite possible that we'll simply end up not being able to reproduce and we'll disappear that way and
All
leave the
things are
hot to the
possible.
cockroaches. But I mean, it's real and people need to understand that. I think it's
Mhm.
important.
Okay, it's great.
I think the latest statistic that, based on my research, is the average adult consumes what is equivalent to a credit card per week.
Hmm.
It used to be, equivalent to one plastic bag per year. And now with now the introduction of now these nanoplastics, which are even smaller than microplastics, and they're invisible to the human eye. And some of the technology, Stephen, you probably know about this. They're trying to develop laser type technology because if it's invisible, how do you filter it out, right? So even a reverse osmosis filtration system probably is not getting it out of there either. So if you can't see it, how do you get rid of it? So they're saying now it's equivalent to a credit card per week. And it is contributing to their endocrine disruptors, like Norm said, and also collecting in the brain specifically is problematic, and could be increasing the incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia.
Mhm. Yeah, lots of health risks.
Yeah,
Right.
no, it's fine.
We have lots of topics now, so I can reach out to some of the experts that we know to come in, and we'll make a plan with dates at our next meeting for when we want to have these. And the other thing we said about this is that we would do this every other month for the year, but in between, we would record each of these. And then on a separate night in the months that we're not doing the presentation live, people could watch them as a recording. So more opportunities for people to see this.
That's a good idea.
I wonder if there would be, this is something we could think about in the future, but, similar to how cigarettes, have the warning on there. I do believe in the near future, there's going to be a warning on your water bottle that says, this item contains nanoplastics. And I think those are the types of things that need to be implemented into our food chain so that consumers can see exactly, where these plastics are coming from. So that it may be something that the federal government and states need to take a closer look at.
Yeah, I'm a member of Ceasefire PA, and we've discussed the fact that back in the 90s, doctors and nurses did a lot in their offices to make people aware of tobacco use. And that was a huge part of cutting back on smoking. And so Ceasefire has talked about the fact that, helping doctors and nurses to do the same thing in their offices with, for suicide and homicide with gun use. And so I wonder if this just occurred to me that we could do that with plastics.
Mhm.
And you know that bottled water is unregulated and untested, as are many of the drinks, because they just use that same water.
There's in Philly, I've read a couple of articles on women there are a couple of businesses in Philly where they're producing non-plastic clothing. Most of our clothes have plastic in them.
Mhm.
So they're using all natural fiber clothing for their shops.
There's a lot of practical ways that you can reduce the amount of plastic in your life.
I mean, some of these things, the reasons why they were introduced, some of these plastics were for very noble reasons, to
Yeah.
make something more fire retardant, to
Mhm.
make something this or that, but the long-term effects of those had not always been studied.
I've wondered that too myself from time to time. Is there, say in the medical field, for instance,
Yeah, there's
are there
tons of plastic.
plastics that we need to keep, retain, and somehow figure out a way to have them help, their intended purpose without harming?
Mhm.
But maintain those things that are actually help us and find a way to have that be the case totally, while getting rid of the stuff that's harmful and finding, going back to the alternatives that we had in the past or we could now have going forward. And in other words, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
This is another troubling thing too. I've just recently found out that hospitals and physician offices are now using disposable equipment. Whereas before they would, sterilize equipment that was used for particular exams, especially for women for gynecological exams. Most hospitals no longer do that for whatever reason. So now these instruments and these things are now disposable, which is very troubling too, when you think about just the extra volume of medical waste, plastic medical waste.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot to learn and lots of ways I'm sure that we can help people think about how to reduce their plastics. So we're come to the place where we have some updates from the township, and Rita couldn't be with us tonight, but Joshua Chast is here, and we thank him. Josh, got anything that the township's doing?
Well, I actually just wanted to backtrack for a quick second. You guys were asking about trying to know what, right, the solar was producing here and at Watkins. And I remembered that we actually had a website that shows us. So if I can, you're all right with
Please.
sharing that now.
Yeah.
So this is hooked up. This one is for the municipal building, but we also have one for the Watkins Center as well.
Okay.
Right, and this will tell you exactly, right, how much solar up to, right, well, it's up to the minute right now, 7:48. Right, energy today, energy this month, lifetime energy. You can see how much it's been producing. You can see where we had the rains on Wednesday, 3.5. Environmental benefits, right, 174,000, right, pounds of CO2 saved, equivalent to 1,320 trees planted. So it doesn't give you the dollar, but it gives you something. And then I have the same for Watkins. So I don't know if you guys have seen this before,
No.
but maybe I can find a way to put this on the solar website as well.
That would
Because
be
we have a
great.
solar page, so
Yeah,
I'm sure
that
we
would be
can put it
great.
somewhere on there.
That would be
happy
great
to
if you had the link.
Share the links, so.
Thank you.
And do the blue vertical lines, can you see them grow during the day?
I haven't watched, but I assume so, because it seems to be updating every couple minutes.
Yeah, if you could have something that dramatic, I think that would be really.
And it said 0 watts right now, which makes sense because it's
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah.
So I think it will be live.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Do you have any other updates for the township?
Well, as always, we're working with our partners in leisure services and PEC to talk about different trail funding projects. A lot of focus on Nailers Run Trail, right? Focusing on going after grants for the second half of the funding for the second Darby Creek Bridge, the Marshall Road Bridge. Right, we've got the LSA award coming in with the 3 bridges that are going to be funded in 3 of the parks.
That's at Bishop Field, at Windermere Bridge, at Naylor, Drexel Gardens Park, and I'm trying to think where.
Two at Nailers, Delmar Field Bridge, and Windermere.
Yes, Delmar
Although it
Field.
looks like we're only gonna have funding for 3.
Great.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, and that's pretty much. So I'm meeting actually with PEC on Wednesday to discuss kind of next steps for some of these projects as well.
Great.
We might have a little more to share next time.
Yeah, I saw some work being done like very near where the nursery is. Was there something there just below the old railroad bed?
Nothing, I mean, there might be public works stuff.
Okay,
But right, the idea is the railroad tracks
Yeah.
will be part of the future Nailers Run Trail, connecting from Baltimore Ave to
Yeah.
Township Line.
sure.
That's the goal,
Yeah, right.
piece at a time.
Okay. All right, how about then any environmental updates from various groups? Uh, S- Stephen, you want to talk about rain gardens or trails or anything like that?
We had 5 rain gardens put in last year, 3 in the spring and 2 in the fall. And the one big rain garden we had put in an upland way that was in cooperation with the township a couple years ago. That seems to be functioning very well. We have a few planned, 2 planned for the spring, and we're doing some assessments now for next fall. We had a number of planned planter box constructions that we hope to do in Sterner's Tills, and the funding has put that on hold.
Okay, and for the tree tenders, I wanted to report that we had a great pruning workshop last Saturday. We had a forester and arborist, Orsi Lazar, came. She's from the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And we had 20 of our residences in the park there at this workshop, and it was great. And people learned a lot, and we were able to give away some pruning tools. I think that was quite a success. Prior to that, we also did some live staking workshops in which people learned what kinds of trees and bushes they can cut a piece from and regenerate that. And it's used a lot for stream banks and helping to stabilize stream banks. So we had those already. We have coming up on the 23rd of March, what we're calling guerrilla planting for pollinators. And we'll be making seed bombs, which then we will take a little hike and throw, and then hope that they will generate flowers where they're thrown. You have anything else to report, Stephen?
Next Tuesday, a number of us are heading up to Lancaster County to see a tiny forest, get some data on what it cost them to put it in, how much time and effort it took, what the results are, take some pictures, before and after stuff, so we can present that stuff to the township.
Okay. And Kyle's not here, but yeah, March 13th, there's a Haverford Township has a bunch of different workshops and events that they're doing. And on March 13th, they're doing a program on demystifying EV ownership. It's a virtual event. And if you go to the Haverford Township EAC website, there's a link there to get on that webinar. And it's at 7 p.m. in the evening. DCVA, Darby Creek Valley Association, has quite a number of events coming up. And if you go to their website, DCVA, you go there and you'll be able to see all of them. One we'd like to point out is their cleanups in April. We hope that people will come out and help to clean up the Darby Creek. There's probably, I don't know, about 8 different locations now. Steve, you want to?
As of last weekend, I think there were 9 in Upper Darby Township. I think there are 36 throughout the watershed, and that there are a number that get done at the very last minute. So there are more still to come, probably.
Yeah, and this is every Saturday in April they're doing
And
it.
some Sundays
And some
because
Sundays.
of conflicts.
Okay. Yeah, so go to DCVA, I guess it's .org, and you can see a variety of different events that they're having. In addition to the cleanups, they have mushroom walks and a variety of other composting and lots of different events that they're having. And another one of our partners and groups that does some work in Upper Darby is the Pennsylvania Resource Council. They work a lot with us, and they're doing on on Earth Day, 4/22, a backyard composting at the Hunt Club in Rose Tree Park. And they did one here last year, right in the One Center. We had about 30 people who came out, and each of them got a compost bin. So if you want to check on that, go to the PRC website, and you can see what's going on there. Any other business or announcement or events that anyone would like to talk about? No? Then would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
So I heard a first and a second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you.